allegedly, we're going to argue about the greatest basketball player of all time. And there is one name, and there's everybody else. At least that's my position.
We're a long
And
way from the top. Let's not get there too soon.
if y'all let me down, my blood pressure might go through. I'm looking a little red on this camera. Oh, yeah. So I'm ready. I am ready. And I got the boxing glove sitting next to me, Terry. So, top 10 basketball players since we qualified it, 1980. So, for those of you that want to hit me with some Bill Russell, or you want to hit me with Jerry West, the man who made the three-pointer famous, Wilt Chamberlain, they're not on the list because it wasn't 1980 to present day. Did I get that right, Terry?
Yeah, that's right.
This is normally your shit. I normally don't introduce things.
Well, no. Listen.
I can't be trusted.
The reason
I can't be trusted.
And you did not take the bait like I
He did not.
You to. You put the notes in here that we will talk about the NBA Finals before we talk about the list, and you just skipped right over.
Well, this is the NBA Finals because I've got it memorized. Jason Tatum is leading the Boston Celtics, Eastern Conference champions, 64-18 in an 82-game season. They've won three straight series, not played more than 5 games. They'll be taking on the Dallas Mavericks. The Dallas Mavericks, I think, were 50-32, if I remember correctly. They went 6 against the Clippers, 6 against Oklahoma City, 5 against the T-Wolves. And so they didn't get as much rest. The playoffs kick off Thursday. And because of that, we're going to argue about who the top 10 basketball players of all time since 1980 were tonight.
So let me introduce it like a normal.
And the Celtics are winning the championship. But go ahead, Terry.
All right. So Celtics winning the championship. I can't argue with that because they've been dominating all year. But this week, act like you haven't heard it already. Top 10 basketball player since 1980. Number 10, Steph Curry.
Solid placement.
And I got him shooting a 3.
Mm-hmm.
That's all he does.
That's what he does. Oh, speaking of, that's all he does is shoot a 3. That's what's her name said about Caitlin Clark.
Oh, yeah.
She shoots 3-pointers. What else does she do? Then somebody put like side-by-side stats. Caitlin Clark leads her in every statistic category possible. Like Caitlin she does everything else, and you do none of it.
Terry didn't realize he was starting a tangent here, but he's a little fired up. She's getting no respect, but the WNBA is getting serious attention because of it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Caitlin Clark is getting no respect. No. But the WNBA is getting publicity. So I'm all for it. Get those women on television. But anyway, Steph Curry, number 10, 5-time champion. He led Davidson in North Carolina to the Elite 8 or the Final 4. I forget which. Yeah, that's where it was, buddy. His father, Del Curry, of course, played for Charlotte. His younger brother played for Duke. And plays for the Clippers, I think, maybe. But anyway, he's been a journeyman. He's not nearly as good as his brother.
Right.
But 5 times, this man is a shooter. There's Ray Allen. There's Reggie Miller. There's Steph Curry. Name 3 guys with a better stroke than them. I know we're talking about best basketball players.
That's what she said.
There she goes. I set that up and didn't even mean to. But Reggie Miller had one of the best finishes you'd ever see in a 3-point shot. Ray Allen, best 3-point shot. And then you've got this guy who from 68 feet is going to hit a 3-point shot, nothing but net, and it's ridiculous. But yeah, good team or good player, had great players around him, and they won 5 championships led by another 3-point shooter who was not on the list. Another 5-time NBA champion, Steve Kerr, is the head coach.
Before we move on to number 9, I just have to point out, you said the words to me earlier. You put a ball on my nose and nobody even flinched. Number 9.
My God.
Tim Duncan.
Again, 5-time NBA champion. Great basketball player, part of the Twin Towers with David Robinson for a very long time. Came out of Wake Forest, I think. Terry, do I have that right?
Yeah, pretty sure.
Pretty sure it was
I will
Wake
make
Forest. But of course, Greg Popovich, head coach, had the ability to play with Tony Parker, Ginobili, Kawhi Leonard. A lot of great players on the Spurs basketball team, and of course, led by Pop. Hard to argue whether he's a compiler or not, according to Timmy C. And I don't even know what the fuck that means. Somebody's going to have to explain that to me someday.
That means somebody that played a really long time and played really well.
5 championships, says
Consistently.
he can. Yeah, he played at a very high level.
You know, like Ricky Henderson's a compiler in baseball.
If I'm not mistaken, they never had a losing season with Duncan on the Spurs, ever, and won multiple conference
That's- I mean,
championships.
He came in with David Robinson
Yeah.
and did it better.
Yeah.
Number
And deserves to be on the list. Go ahead.
Absolutely. Number 8.
Oh.
Hakeem Olajuwon. And of course, I show.
Wow.
It's a great picture.
Yes.
Oh,
Wow.
this is
I'm a
what
little-
I remember.
I'm a little surprised. I have a hot take, but you two can go ahead and lead this off.
No.
Well, I mean, I tried that when I play. I didn't play much basketball when I was younger. I played some. I was more of a baseball, football guy, but this was the move for me. A little shake, and then drift back and try to throw it up.
Not me, man. I could not do that. I was so uncoordinated. I was just lucky because I was tall.
I was not tall, and I had short arms, so I had to fade it back to get it over
Ooh.
the guy.
All right, Andrew. What do you got?
Okay, so Hakeem Olajuwon played on the Houston Rockets with Kenny the Jet Smith. Tom Janovich, I think, was the coach, 94-95. They swept Shaq and the Magic in the first of those championships. Here's the hot take. Michael Jeffrey Jordan was playing minor league baseball and was not a member of the Chicago Bulls. And had he been the member of the Chicago Bulls and the Bulls had the team and the band back together, it would have been 91, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 for the Chicago Bulls. Hakeem Olajuwon, Kenny the Jet Smith, and the rest were beneficiaries of the fact Michael Jordan's father died and he left basketball for 2 seasons. And that is my hot take on Hakeem Olajuwon.
Okay. I always learn something new with Andrew. I don't know if I want to know it, but it's always something
Oh,
new.
you didn't know that Jordan took off 2 years and basically
No,
won
I knew that.
6 championships surrounding it. Okay.
I knew that, but
Olajuwon's a great basketball player,
He is.
agreed.
but he wouldn't have had it. They wouldn't have had a chance against the Bulls.
Well, I mean, the Bulls in their prime were.
The best
right.
ever.
Yeah,
Thanks
that's
to
just
Scottie Pippen, right?
73 and
In his
9.
mind.
73 and 9. Yeah,
It's-
Pippen, Kukoc, Kerr, Jordan, Rodzilla. Fuck off. The Bulls
Horace
rule.
Grant.
Who's number 7, Terry?
God,
Number 7, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and this one's a little
He-
tricky.
He slid in because of the whole 80. Yeah.
So the thing here is, if you look at Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's career, and I looked really closely at this because he straddled that 1980 line. His best seasons were in the late 70s. He
Yep.
dominated in the late 70s. He was
But-
still pretty good in the 80s. So that's why.
But
he's
but
on the
who
list.
came in 1979 out of Michigan State?
Magic Johnson,
Magic Johnson. And it was no longer Kareem's team.
right?
When Magic
Good point.
Johnson came in and took over, it was no longer Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's team. But Magic, along with Pat Riley, wins 4
Hmm.
championships, and Kareem was part of that. I believe the 80 season, 81, early. It was
I think
early.
He played through 89, but
Did he play that long? Well,
Well,
then
he was
hell, he
really
was part of
declining.
all of them.
Yeah.
So I didn't remember, but I know that he got replaced by Magic Johnson because of an injury in one of the early 80 seasons. They benched Kareem or had him sit out, and Magic ended up playing as a rookie and did very, very, very well for himself. But anyway, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, he couldn't defend the sky hook. You couldn't play him deep inside. At the time, he was arguably the best big man of the 80s and probably the 70s. But then again, you've got Russell and the guy that had 100 points, Chamberlain, and all the rest of them.
Chamberlain. Yeah.
So I don't know, but
he had 100 something.
Yeah, he played through 89. I mean, his minutes declined, but I mean, he started in 1969.
so
and
played
through
20 seasons in the
1989.
NBA. Yeah, so I apologize for misspeaking there, thinking he retired early, or earlier than that. But yeah, Kareem belongs on the list. They won 4 championships in the 80s with Riley. So
Well, like I said, he was more dominant in the late 70s, but like you said, Magic Johnson came in, so he wasn't quite that team leader at that point.
But this
Still,
isn't
20-something points a game, so he was
And this-
still showing up, and that's why he belonged.
and this isn't a question, but I'll give you another opinion because you know I don't mind, and you didn't ask, but it's okay. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Magic Johnson, less than Kobe and Shaq.
Okay.
I think Kobe and Shaq were a better pair. For the
We may
Lakers.
talk about this later on in the poll. Number 6,
Ah,
Shaquille O'Neal. Speaking of,
so
Hard
Fun
to
fact.
argue. Go
fun
ahead.
fact, when I played basketball, this was my nickname.
Was Shaq?
My nickname was Shaq.
Nice.
I think I played basketball from like 10 to 18. I was always this height. Like I had a growth spurt at like 11, 12. I was ridiculously tall. So I was always the center. And I would just, it was horrible. Like,
Allison said something fun there, Terry. She was always the center. They don't have centers in modern basketball, but this is a true center right here. Shaquille O'Neal come out of LSU. He went to Orlando. He went to the Lakers. He played for the Heat. He played for the Suns. He played for Cleveland. He played for Boston, if I'm not mistaken. I think he was a Celtic.
yeah, he did. He did.
But Shaquille O'Neal has all the championships with the Lakers and the Heat. It was Shaquille and D. Wade, and it was Shaquille and Kobe. And, of course, the greatest basketball coach of all time, Phil Jackson, leading the way for those early Lakers teams. And, of course, they had Derek Fisher and several other complimentary players back then. I have no problem with Shaquille O'Neal. The one thing was nobody could guard him. So Popovich created what is called Hack Shack. Are both of you familiar with Hack
Oh,
Shack?
yeah.
So where
Put
you
him
just
on the
foul him rather than defend
Oh.
him.
He can't shoot free throws at
He
all.
couldn't shoot
'Cause he
free
could-
throws.
And he looked
No,
good
he
for
was-
trying.
He was like a 50% or something free throw shooter, which is
Yeah.
god awful.
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah.
But when you scored 40 and 50 points and you had double-digit rebounds and you were as big and as powerful,
Nobody cared.
because let's not get lost on. We're not talking about Shaq sucking down an air hose the end of his season, the end of his career. We're talking about Shaquille O'Neal, 7 foot tall, 315 pounds, move like a damn gazelle, and not somebody you wanted to have to defend in his early years. Very athletic big man, arguably one of the best big men the game's ever seen, but there are plenty of them, so we're not even going to start that nonsense.
A little bit of a Shaq-related tangent before we move on.
I have something else too, but go ahead.
So when I was in middle school, Shaq was playing for the Orlando Magic.
Yep.
And I had a little
Yep.
bit of money in my pocket. And, you know, when you're in middle school, you don't keep it. And I needed some new shoes. Well, these black and blue Shaquille O'Neal shoes came out, and I bought a pair with my own money. $140 back then.
Wow.
And I paid that. Well, I get home. My mom is like, you just blew all your money, you know. So I get home, and they have like this big air pocket thing on the bottom, you know, where there's a big hole. My dad goes, you should have paid the rest of it and got the rest of your shoes. And my mom's like, no, he already paid $140.
Oh no.
But I was
That is
cool.
phenomenal.
Shaq's.
My last thing on Shaq. He is part of my favorite sports program that's not the Pat McAfee show, and that's Inside the NBA, because it's him and Kenny the Jet and Charles. And I love Charles Barkley. But Shaq told a couple of stories that were fun when he was talking about Kobe after Kobe died. he said he went up to Kobe because the other teammates were bitching because he weren't giving him the ball, and he told him, he said, "Hey Kobe, the guys want me to tell you that there's no I in team." And he said, "Nope, but there is a me in that motherfucker." And he walked back to the other teammates and he said, "Hey, y'all ain't getting the ball." And the second story I love about Shaq, because he's really funny, like he truly is a really funny, engaging guy. He says, my kids have learned that they're not rich. I'm rich. They don't have money. I have money. So I love that mentality that Shaquille O'Neal has. And he is very funny, very engaging. Him and Charles Barkley are so good together. And then you add Kenny Smith and Ernie to the list, and they are great. But yeah, I love that Shaq's on this list because I was a Magic fan because of Shaquille O'Neal, and Jordan won't playing at the time. So there it is.
Number 5. Here it is.
Yep. Here it is.
LeBron James. That's 3 Lakers in a row, by the way.
Yeah. Well, he was Cleveland. He was Miami. He was the Lakers. You guys go ahead. Don't bait me, Terry. But go ahead on LeBron.
I don't care what you say. You say whatever you want to. I'm not a basketball guy, but I mean, my deal is, and let me just here, I'll go ahead and throw it out there. The rules, the way the games are played in every sport changes. And you can only judge people by how they play the game in the era that they play. He's accomplished a lot of stuff in the era that he played, so he deserves to be near the top.
Allison.
I mean, I enjoyed watching him play. I thought he was good. I'm afraid to have the wrong opinion. So I'm just gonna
No. There's no
wrong opinion.
There is no wrong opinion. Yeah, there is no wrong opinion. I'm sure mine will be wrong in the eyes of very many people. LeBron James, in my opinion, does not belong on this top 10 list. And the reason for that isn't because he's 3-8 in the finals. It isn't because he's bounced from team to team. It isn't because he's had a 20-year career and he's got the most points ever. And he's gone from Cleveland to Miami to the Lakers, and they were going to do this and they were going to do that and they were going to do something else. It's not because he's got the playoff appearances and all this other stuff. Greatest players of all time do not flop when they're playing basketball. They do not walk when they're playing basketball. They do not double dribble when they're playing basketball. The other thing that I qualify the greatest basketball players of all time, they make every single player around them better. LeBron James does not. So LeBron James, in my opinion, does not belong on this list. If you think for 1 second that he could go toe-to-toe with Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird. Bird would have that son of a bitch on suicide watch with the shit talking that he did in the 1980s. Go ahead and talk to him about when you got the Showtime Lakers versus the Celtics all the way through the 1980s. Ask Kevin McHale how much fun it was to watch Larry Bird psych people out before they ever took a shot on the basketball court. LeBron James is not built for that type of game. LeBron James is soft, and he's got a huge body, and he's had a fantastic career, but he'll never, ever be on top of this list in my world. That's all I'm going to say about LeBron James.
So I'll just throw this out there. You listed 4 guys he can't tangle with, and he's number 5. And I'm not saying anything, but I don't think Kevin McHale, who you also listed, is in that top 4. Let's run it down. Number 4, Magic Johnson. So 4 Lakers in a row, at least in the Lakers uniform in the picture I chose.
I mean, the Lakers were dominant for such a good period of time. It was the Bulls. It was the Lakers.
We know there's another one coming.
Yep.
Yeah, I know.
We know there is. Black Mamba is going to make an appearance.
So
but
I tried to find pictures that captured what they did well, and Magic Johnson was one that was difficult because he did so many things well. A
Mhm.
lot of it was no look passes and that kind of stuff, and that was very difficult to find a picture of.
Assists, defense, layups. The man was the, as you like to say, Terry, 5-tool player.
Absolutely,
There wasn't one element of basketball that Magic Johnson did poorly.
all point guard. He did
Yeah.
the tip.
He's like the
Yeah.
technical player. Like when we talk about technical wrestlers, he's like the
Mhm.
technical player.
Oh yeah,
But
If
I know
you-
that means something else in basketball.
No, but if you're going to teach somebody, if you're going to point out this is what a basketball player should look
Yep.
like,
Mhm.
Magic Johnson. It's not even MJ. It's not Michael Jordan. It's Magic Johnson. Because Michael Jordan is on a completely different level, and I know we're going to get to him. But Johnson,
how do you know that?
Come
Yeah.
on.
because you're not because our fans aren't idiots. That's how I know that. Neither are we. But Magic Johnson, all those contributions, all those championships, was a member of the inaugural Dream Team in '92. Nobody touched those guys. It was Jordan and Pippen and Magic and Robinson and Ewing and Mullins and Stockton and Malone.
And
Oh.
not
No-
Isaiah Thomas.
Oh,
Nobody touched those guys. And there was never, you want to go back to the LeBron argument? There was never a thought that they weren't going to win the gold medal.
Right.
They never got a
Right.
bronze medal. They only won gold medals when they were playing. But yeah, Magic Johnson, to me, to Allison's point, he is the perfect example of what a basketball player should be if you were going to create one on NBA Jam.
Similarly, number 3, Larry Bird.
Our fans got it right because I know who the next two are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Bird, four-time NBA champion, coach, Pacers coach, owner. I mean, it was him and it was Kevin McHale and the whole gang there in the Celtics, and they were good enough to take down the Showtime Lakers. And they did it more than once. Pretty
but Bird's
impressive.
another one. It's like he did so many things.
Yep.
You know, I had to get him shooting because he shot so well, but no look passes, assists. I mean, he wasn't just a shooter.
No.
No.
That's why he's so far up this list.
And Boston's offense ran through Larry Bird.
Yeah.
I mean, it's undeniable. Larry Bird was the Boston Celtics, but they'd come with that edge and chip, and maybe that's why I don't have a LeBron soft spot. Hold on. But apparently, Karma has a soft spot for me. Dang. They were tough in the 80s. You talked about Isaiah Thomas. You talk
Yeah.
about the Detroit Pistons and the Bulls. Yeah.
He's choking over there.
Yeah.
He's getting
I don't know.
emotional about this.
Really emotional. But they used to play defense. They used to beat each other up. You used to know. I know he's not on the list, so I'll tell the Rodman story. I read Rodman's book, but I forget who it was. They were publicizing it, you know, advertising, getting up to, and is, you know, bad as I want to be. And Dennis Rodman was really the first bad boy. He's my favorite basketball player of all time. This man, couple things on Rodman, and we'll move on because I know he's not on the list. I think he's arguably one of the best defenders the game's ever seen. When you average 20 rebounds a game,
Mhm.
you know, 3% body fat, he would play 60 minutes or the game 60 minutes. He'd go get on the Stairmaster after the fact, run 90 minutes after the fact. But I can't remember who he was defending. And they would say, you always knew when Rodman was in town because the crowds were loud and you were sore the next day. Because he would get inside and push you and move you and beat you up. You can't play basketball like that anymore, Terry. To your point when we started talking about LeBron James, you can't play defense the way Bird did. You can't play defense the way Magic did. You sure as shit can't play defense the way Rodman did, let alone Michael Jordan. So very, very. The point on Rodman was that the game, to your point, is evolved, it's changed, and that sort of
Mhm.
thing, to the point where anything that he would have done back in the 90s is now a foul.
Right.
I mean, basketball favors the offensive player. As much as I love my 1995 Nebraska Cornhuskers, if you watch a hype film on them and their defense and the way they took people's heads off back
All
then,
penalties.
every damn tackle would have been a 15-yard
Yeah.
penalty. I mean, every tackle.
I mean, even the rules on defensive backs and wide receivers are different now. So I mean, it's all over. Like baseball. Oh, don't get me started on baseball rules.
Hey,
oh my!
remember the top 10?
Yeah,
Oh.
we're okay. Stop it, lady. Stop it. We're on time. Terry, show me Kobe Bryant for the 2 spot.
Number 2, Kobe Bryant.
All right. At
Black-
least our listeners got this right. So
They
And
did.
another
Black
Laker to
Mamba.
finish out half the top 10.
But a
Lakers.
true Laker, like Magic, like Kobe, not like LeBron. LeBron just went to the bigger market in the Showtime. He gonna try to get his kid in high school or get his kid on the NBA team, and his kid sucked at USC. That's okay. Sorry, Bronny. Black Mamba. What a nickname. And he lived up to it. If there is a man on this list that belongs in the same breath as Michael Jordan, it is Kobe Bryant. Just my opinion. Because he won them with Shaq, and he won them with Powell, and he won them with Phil. Kobe Bryant was the Lakers franchise in the 2000s. And he was a kid when he came to play basketball. And he played with Jordan. And he played against Jordan. And he played against Shaq. And he played with Shaq. And he played against the D. Wades of the world. Allen Iverson from the Philly team in the finals. And Kobe always found a way to win. And he also had that Michael Jordan mentality that he was the best player in the world and he was going to prove it every night. So, fantastic ball player. 5 times NBA champion. Pretty good.
Nothing more to say.
No.
Number 1, Michael Jordan, and I chose this picture, even though it's not a game shot, but this is a representation of why he is Air Jordan.
I'm pretty sure I had this poster on my wall when I was playing basketball. Michael Jordan was everything. I can fully admit I was one of the people that bought the cassette single of the song Be Like Mike. I bought it for my girlfriend for her Sweet 16. Yeah, that I dated myself. Yep.
I was a Bulls guy. But before I launch into my little thing on Michael, Terry, tell us about Michael Jordan, please. Your thoughts, Michael
For those
Jordan.
that don't know, Michael Jordan dominated. We talk about 5-tool. He made people around him better, like you said. He was a leader. He challenged you every step of the way to get better. And he could do it all. Defense, dunk, shoot, pass. Michael Jordan.
If you want to see a great documentary on the Bulls in general, Michael Jordan heavily featured. Check it out. I believe it's on Netflix or Hulu. But the Bulls dynasty. And I truly meant what I said about Akeem Olajuwon. No disrespect to how good a player he is with Houston. If Jordan hadn't left for baseball after his father's death in 94, the Bulls win 8 championships. And nobody gets close to them. Because they just kept winning and winning and winning. Defensive player of the year, offensive player of the year, 6 times NBA champion. He was in the finals how many times, Terry? 6. The man was undefeated in the NBA finals. MVP, finals MVP. And to your point, what you said, you were absolutely right. He made everybody around him better, made Coach Phil Jackson's bones. And they took down some excellent teams. Portland, Utah, obviously had to play New York, Patrick Ewing and that gang to get to the finals. Detroit, they had to play Boston.
Cleveland.
So play Cleveland. So Michael Jordan knew exactly what he was doing. I was a Bulls fan because Michael Jordan played for the Bulls.
Mhm.
But because of that, I became a Rodman fan and a Scottie Pippen fan and a Steve Kerr fan and a Kukoc fan and a Worthy fan. And you name them, the Bulls, I mean, they were the team.
Mhm.
You talk about prime time. How many games did the Bulls play on primetime television everybody could watch?
God.
A lot. They
A lot.
because he was ratings. Michael Jordan was ratings, and we make fun of it now, but he was also one of the first basketball players and athletes. Hanes underwear commercial, Air Jordans, movies like Space Jam. He made I Believe I Can Fly famous. You know,
Was
everybody.
it a McDonald's commercial?
The
with him and
McDonald's with
Bird?
Bird, yeah. Everybody wanted to be like Mike, to Allison's point about the song. And like Hulk Hogan in professional wrestling, because we talk a lot about Hulk Hogan, Michael Jordan transcended the sport of basketball. You don't have to be a Bulls fan. You don't ever have to watch the 73-9 Chicago Bulls that dominated everyone to know who the hell Michael Jordan is. He is the Coke, the Pepsi, the Kleenex. He's the brand. Michael Jordan is the NBA and is the brand of basketball. And he hasn't played basketball in 20 years. And he's still the brand.
Agreed.
11-time NBA champion Bill Russell doesn't get that type of street cred. 100 points in a game, Wilt Chamberlain doesn't get that type of street cred. It's Michael Jordan. It's everybody else. Respectfully. And that will never change.
All right, let's run down the list. Number 10, Steph Curry. Number 9, Tim Duncan. Hakeem Olajuwon comes in at number 8. Number 7, a little lower because he straddled 1980. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Shaquille O'Neal at number 6. LeBron James at number 5. Magic Johnson at 4. Larry Bird at 3. Kobe Bryant at number 2. And, of course, Air Jordan.
Michael
number 1.
Jeffrey Jordan.
The number 1 GOAT top player since 1980 and all time.
Cut from his high school basketball team, inspirationally, folks. Cut from his high school basketball team, wins the NCAA championship with the North Carolina Tar Heels, and in 1985 is Rookie of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year.